Hey guys, so today I'm going to be going over the Oath of the Noble Genies Paladin subclass released recently in the Unearthed Arcana for the Forgotten Realms book coming out later this year. I'm going to just give my opinions and things that I think they should either change or keep the same, if I think it's too strong or not strong enough, and just sort of how I think the final product will be or how I hope it should be when the new book comes out. And for people who watch my content every week, I promise I'll get back to character build videos. This Unearthed Arcana gave us so much information though, and I really just want to go over it. So that being said, let's go ahead and go right into the document and go over the subclass. So first of all, I would like to say the thematics of this build do seem somewhat odd to me. Usually paladins have a specific ideal, or like their oath is devotion, redemption, glory. It's more of a idea and not a specific being or type of being. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. Any lore buffs, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but I'm gonna go ahead and read what they say about the Oath of the Noble Genies. Paladins sworn to the Oath of the Noble Genies revere the forces of the elemental planes. Through taking this oath, paladins draw power from the 4 different types of genies: Tao, Masters of Earth; Jinn, Masters of Air; Efreeti, Masters of Fire; and Madrid's Master of Water, to create splendid and destructive displays of elemental might. On Faerun, many paladins who swear this oath hail from Kalimshan, a land rife with Genie kind. Despite their strong local ties, these Kalishite paladins often undertake quests to take them all over the realms and across the multiverse, including naturally the elemental planes. These paladins share the following tenets: beget creation with destruction, lead with splendor and grace, respect the elements and fear their wrath. What would you guys think, as someone who doesn't know that much about this specific Forgotten Realms lore? How would you guys feel of it being Oath of the Elemental Chaos or something? I feel like that sounds really badass, and it obviously gives you the same mechanics essentially, but doesn't have as much of that Genie flavor. The Genie flavor is cool, but it just feels odd on a paladin in my personal opinion. Also, before I go too deep into this, the reason I chose to make this video today is because I did 3 polls. YouTube has this weird thing where when you do polls, it only allows you to be able to do 4 choices. The first poll, Oath of the Noble Genie and Purple Dragon Knight Fighter, were the 2 most popular. And this one, it was the Scion of 3 Rogue and Bladesinger Wizard. And then I took the 2 best from each poll and made a 3rd poll, and Oath of the Noble Genies Paladin won by 42% with 224 votes. So it is very much the most popular subclass, at least with my community. So that's super good to know. And I understand why. It's definitely the most powerful option in my opinion. And let's go ahead and start with the level 3 abilities. So I like Elemental Smite. I think it's really cool. I do have some problems with it though, and I'll be going over that. I'll go ahead and read them all though real quick. So immediately after you cast Divine Smite, you can expend 1 use of your channeled divinity and invoke one of the following effects: Tao's Crush, Genie's Escape, Efreeti's Fury, and Madrid's Surge. Tao's Crush says the target has the grapple condition. Escape DC equals your spell save DC. While grappled, the target has the restrain condition. This is by far the most powerful option. It is an auto-grapple that also restrains, and as far as I know, it's the only auto-grapple currently in the game. There's a lot of abilities that like auto prone or auto push, but this is the first auto grapple. I'm pretty sure. Let me know down in the comments if I'm wrong. Then we have Genie's Escape. You teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of yourself. You take a mist-like form, which lasts until the end of your next turn. While in this form, you have immunity to grappled, prone, and restrained conditions. That is pretty cool. I do really like this, but it is very situational. And then we have Efreeti's Fury. The target takes an extra 2d4 fire damage. This is 100% the weakest option, and I'll give you my thoughts on how I think this could be fixed here in a second. But then we have Madrid's Surge. The target and each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating from you makes a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature is pushed 15 feet straight away from you and has the prone condition. So this is an AoE prone. I really like that. And I will go over the spell list, but one of the spells I want to mention, which can interact really well with some of these options with Elemental Smite, is at level 9 Paladin, you get access to the Fly spell, which Paladins don't normally have. And I haven't heard people talking about these interactions that could be really interesting. So my big problem with Elemental Smite is Dao's Crush is so good that it overshadows the other three to an extent where I feel like it almost feels like those choices don't exist. I think that when you're given many options, they should all feel very desirable. There's multiple ways you can try to balance abilities against each other. You could either nerf Dao's Crush or buff all these three. I think honestly though, Genie's Escape and Madrid's Surge, they're useful enough situationally. I don't think they really need buffed much, if at all. So if you're not gonna change Dao's Crush, I definitely would change Efreeti's Fury. I think it'd be really cool if Efreeti's Fury had a similar effect to Searing Smite, where it sets the target on fire and they take fire damage every turn, and they have to use an action to make the fire go out. And I also think they should up the damage. I'm honestly a really big fan of tying things to proficiency bonus or your charisma modifier. I feel like this damage should scale. I know Divine Smite is already doing damage, so a lot of people feel like it's a little much to make this too much damage since Divine Smite already is doing pretty good amount of damage. But yeah, I think a on fire effect could be really fun and interesting, and it becomes a little more desirable because it has the potential to do more damage, and you could even stack it with Searing Smite if you want to cast Searing Smite for your next turn. But if you want to go the route where you nerf Dao's Crush, I think having the target be auto-grappled is what makes the ability really cool, and I don't think they should get rid of that, and instead maybe just make it so they're not restrained. I feel like grapple and restrained are similar enough to each other that getting rid of the restrained condition would make it still really good, but not too much overshadowing the other abilities. The biggest difference between grappled and restrained being that restrained allows every attacker to have advantage on attack rolls against them, whereas the grappled condition does not. One interaction though that I hinted at earlier is, imagine if you have Fly activated on you and you have a 60-foot fly speed and you have the grappler feat. You could auto grapple a target, fly 60 feet up in the air, and drop them. That's pretty fun. One thing to keep in mind is Madrid's Surge doesn't have a size limitation for what creatures are knocked prone, so it's actually pretty powerful. And since it's a 10-foot emanation, if I'm understanding how emanations work correctly, if you make yourself a larger size, the emanation will become larger. And so I feel like having a Genie Paladin Goliath would be really fun and would be very thematic, and you could make yourself large size, and then Madrid Surge all of a sudden becomes even stronger. I think what would also be fun for like flavor, when you have Fly cast on you, I think it'd be really cool if you flavor your character as their legs disappearing and then becoming more like a genie, you know? This is mostly just flavor stuff that's fun. But I'll go ahead and go over all the spell lists now that we talked about Elemental Smite. So 3rd level, we get Chromatic Orb, Elementalism Cantrip, and Thunderous Smite. Thunderous Smite, already on the Paladin spell list. Nice to pick it up without having to specifically take it. Chromatic Orb is a really good spell in the 2024 rules, and it's a really good ranged option to have on this Paladin that'll almost definitely be more of a melee combatant. So I feel like Chromatic Orb is a really nice pickup. And then Mirror Image is a great spell, especially on a melee character. Phantasmal Force is just whatever. We already talked about Fly. Gaseous Form is very thematic for this build, and it's also a really good infiltration ability or escape ability, so that's nice. Conjure Minor Elementals actually feels really balanced with this character because you don't even get access to it till level 13. And then if you're going 20 levels into Paladin, you're not even going to be able to upcast it much. So I feel like having this spell on a half caster is totally fine and not overpowered. And then we have Summon Elemental. So yeah, I feel like people don't talk about this spell very much, and so I'll go over it briefly. So Paladins tend to not get access to many summon spells. So Summon Elemental is actually a pretty good spell to grab on this Paladin if you pick the air option has a fly speed, water has a swim speed, and the earth elemental has a burrow speed, which is really nice to have. 40 feet burrow. They have a lot of resistances. Their HP is pretty decent, 18 strength, a pretty solid summon, and I'm a big fan of summons just because it's a way to get extra damage with having a whole separate action economy available to you. So I think this is a super solid pickup on a paladin, even though you don't get it till pretty high level. Then we have Banishing Smite and Contact Other Plane, pretty solid spells, why not? And then we have this really interesting ability, Genie Splendor. When you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor, you gain a bonus to your AC equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. You also gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: acrobatics, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. So this is really cool because you can wear light armor and then you can have your charisma modifier add to your AC. This is really nice because you can be a little more stealthy if you want to be. You also don't have to invest as much into strength because now with heavy armor, you have to have a certain strength score to be able to even wear it. And because you're still getting access to light armor, your AC can be really, really high with this build. So yeah, I think it's super solid. We have Aura of Elemental Shielding. You obviously get the normal aura protection things that paladins get, but then on top of that, you get to choose between acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. And your allies have resistance to this damage type while you're within the aura protection. And then you can switch the element every single turn. So that's very nice. Level 15, we have Elemental Rebuke. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can take a reaction to have the attack's damage against yourself rounded down and force the attacker to make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the attacker takes damage equal to 4d10 plus your charisma modifier. The damage is one of the following types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. On a successful save, the attacker takes half as much damage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. You regain all expended uses when you finish the long rest. This is a super solid level 15 feature. What I really like about this subclass is they really honed in on making sure, at least at high levels, you have something to do with your bonus action, you have something to do with your action, you have something to do with your reaction. I really like it when characters can use all of their actions effectively. And then level 20 Paladin isn't a thing that happens much, especially with the new Pact of the Blade being very desirable for a paladin, especially this paladin, where you're going to want a high charisma for your armor class. So like, not many people are going to actually get to this, but let's say you do. As a bonus action, you gain the benefits below for 10 minutes or until you end them. No action required. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. You can also restore your use of it by expending a level 5 spell slot. So it gives you a fly speed and you can hover. Nice, so you don't have to concentrate on the fly spell anymore and you can concentrate on something else. And then you get Minor Wish. When you're an ally in your aura protection fails a d20 test, you can take a reaction to make the d20 test succeed instead. That's totally fine. It's definitely a bit lackluster compared to other level 20 paladin capstones, but considering all the amazing options you get before then, it totally makes sense. If this paladin on release is exactly as it's written, I feel like this paladin will be a very popular dip into a charisma caster of some kind. Yes, you only get 2 channel divinities at lower levels, but imagine a Valor Bard with Elemental Smite. That could go crazy. And since you get the charisma AC bonus at level 3, that could be a really nice dip. What's interesting is it's very similar to the Dance Bard's armor ability, but it is better. So yeah, I'm always a big fan of having a lot of options. And the fact that you get 4 different options for Elemental Smite, I just think that that is so cool and well designed. But yeah, like I said earlier, they either need to nerf Dow's Crush a bit or buff the other 3, especially Efreeti's Fury. They really need a rider effect on it, or else it really doesn't feel worth using. I think Goliath Genie Paladin, Rune Knight Fighter multiclass is going to go crazy. Also, the Genie Paladin and the Genie Warlock is going to go crazy. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a very popular class on full release. Based on the poll, I'm probably going to do a video on the Sign of the 3 Rogue next, and this is going to be like a midweek video most likely, so get excited for that. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check check out my thoughts on the Winter Walker Ranger. I have a whole video I made about that and how I feel like not only is it really good, but they could potentially fix some of the Ranger problems if they just change Winter Walker Ranger a little bit more. Catch you guys later. Peace.